Thank you for joining us here on Mortal to Mortal. Today I have with me the amazing Sir Richard Stevens, aka Finnlay Shards. Thank you so much for joining me today, Rich.
Thanks for having me.
For any of the folks out there that might not know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Richard, or Finnlay Shards, as most people know me on Twitch and everywhere else. I live in the UK. I'm 38 years old, and I have been playing games and LARPing and Dungeon Dragoning for most of those 38 years, to be perfectly honest.
Mm.
Um, I am one of Felicia's mods. I also mod some of the other stuff she does, like Magical Fantasy,
Oh, okay.
and I try and be a upstanding member of Team Hooman wherever I can.
Excellent. I'd like to add to that I truly consider you a pillar of the Team Human community. I've been a rock in the community with charity and other things, which we'll get into. So just in case people didn't know that, it's a
I didn't know that, so that's
fact.
fine.
Neat. um, Speaking on the charities, I found it regularly, or fairly often it seems, you're running different fundraisers on Twitch for charity, and you're always able to rally up this amazing response. I've been lucky enough to play actually one of the D&D charity streams that you did
Yep.
a while ago. It was a blast. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started doing those charity streams?
I I'd been part of Geek and Sundry right from the very start, and one of the big things they did was the massive Lupus charity drive
Yes. Hmm.
when this thing everything really started off, and then we all contributed in that in various ways, and then we got to the Extra Life stream around November when
Mm.
again Geek and Sundry did a big piece on that, and it was I wanted to help contribute to that in as many ways as possible. So as well as supporting Geek and Sundry directly, I joined the Geek and Sundry team and
Mm.
thought I'll do something for charity. I was a little sort of stumped on what I could do that would get people interested and get people wanting to watch and enjoy it and actually want to contribute for
Mm.
it. And obviously, Critical World had been running for a little while. There had been a lot of people suddenly interested in various Dungeons and Dragons games and such
Mm.
from that.
Mm.
So I thought I would run a fairly light-hearted, very rules light um, versions of Dungeons and Dragons where anybody could come along and play.
Neat.
And as you said, you were part of one of the groups that came in. Um, it was going to initially be a 12-hour charity stream. I think it ended up being 21 hours because Dungeons and
Sounds
Dragons
right.
can go on a little bit. Um, but we had six groups of four players over that time, so it was quite hectic. A lot of back and forth, trying to set up cameras and Skype calls and things because it wasn't really pre-planned. It was who was available at the time and wanted to play,
I gotcha.
and but I wanted to open it up to anybody in the human community because they then bring their own followers who want to support them, so therefore you get some charity, and it was the best way I could think of doing something for the community.
Mm. Well,
We
it
did
worked.
well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the first year because Geek and Sundry were nice enough to host us.
Okay.
We made well over $1,000 on that first year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've
Beautiful.
done a few other stuff. Project Human have run a few.
Ah.
Project Human being the UK-based humans,
Mm-hmm.
led by
Yes.
Chisley Wisley, who a number of you probably already know. He set up the Project Human stream, and a lot of the Euro humans and stuff have been part of that. And we've done some more stuff on there for Lupus as well.
Ah,
Again,
okay.
more. I seem to be the dungeon master for all the charity streams we tend to do.
Neat.
We run sort of various weird little games. So we had our sort of Halloween haunted one. We had our jokey Konami Island puzzle code one.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, they found a whole load of pirate treasure maps and stuff, and once they worked out the puzzles to get through all the traps were actually the up down,
Oh, okay.
left right.
Oh, nice.
So it was just a bit of fun, and then the last one we did, the Extra Life for 2016.
Oh, okay.
I did a similar thing. I had a group of four players who were very, very crazy. A couple of
Perfect.
them were Team Human members, a couple of them from my LARP community,
Oh,
which
okay.
I'm sure we'll talk to a bit later about LARPing a bit.
Mm.
And yeah, it was one of the craziest games I've run.
Oh, wow.
Um, they let's just say that there's some stuff on the internet somewhere, that was very very crazy, very weird. Um, but it was basically a take on the Mario games,
Okay.
but they didn't realise till the end what was actually going on. But there was very sort of turtle-based things. They were looking for a princess,
Nice.
with a it was a slight twist on it. I put a bit of a twist on it, but yeah,
Neat.
it was ultimately that.
Ah,
So
I will have to search for that after and see if we can link that in the comments if I can find it.
yeah, I'll get you a link.
Yes, please look forward to it, people. Yeah. So it's safe to say that you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, when did you first get into D&D?
I first got in. I was about 12.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, about 25 years ago now. I'm quite old.
No.
Feel old anyway. Yeah, a friend and my friend's father used to play, and he invited
Oh,
me and my best mate from school along, and we started playing because it's Dungeons and Dragons. Any
yes.
age can play really, as long as you're sort of
Hmm.
your DM's willing to aim at the right audience.
Right.
So yeah, I started all the way back then. I
Wow.
started with the whole fantasy thing slightly earlier, probably about 7 or 8.
Hmm.
Well, probably slightly earlier when we had the Hobbit came out and was reading that when I was very young.
Ah, yes. Yep.
But yeah, around 7, 8, we used to get the Steve Jackson, the Livingston Fighting Fantasy games, the
Okay.
books. So Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh, right, right. Okay, yep.
Um, yeah, it was every weekend. My mother used to get us these books and we used to play through them sort of together.
Wow. Okay.
And that kind of got me interested in the hobby.
Mm.
And there were some wonderful board games that came out when I was quite young, around that sort of time. The Hero Quest
Okay.
came out, which was the first. It was like a Dungeons and Dragons game. It was a board
Oh.
game where you had the players who were the barbarian, the wizard, the elf, and the dwarf,
Okay.
and then you had the dungeon master who played all the orcs and the goblins and the skeletons, and
Ah.
there was lots of different quests on this board.
Huh.
And yeah, so that all that got me into it, and then Dungeons
Mm.
and Dragons came along, and it's just you don't need a board; you can just have your imagination.
Right. Yes. The
So
greatest
yeah,
game board
I
there
have
is.
yeah, and I have been basically I played for about 6 months before I realised there was a Dungeon Master's Guide and I could run my own stuff.
Yes.
And I've
Okay.
basically been running games ever since.
Beautiful. Oh.
So
uh, do you feel that maybe that was a foundation for the LARPing that you do?
definitely, yes,
Okay.
definitely got me into that as well,
And
and
for
everything else I do really.
really, okay, excellent.
All
um,
about games and having fun.
yeah, yeah, and what a great system to do so. For folks that aren't familiar with LARPing, can you describe it a little bit? Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, sure. It stands for live action roleplay, which we sometimes call it interactive cross country theatre.
Okay.
Um, but basically, if you think about your Dungeons and Dragons games, where you have your players who are your heroes,
Hmm.
and then you have a dungeon master who plays everything else.
Hmm.
LARPing is when you get to be your hero character, but you dress up as play them. So it's a little bit like your reenactment Ren fairs. I think you have in the
Hmm.
States, is it?
Hmm.
So you dress up as your character. You have like a foam weapon. So
Neat.
if you want a sword or something, so you can relatively safely hit people. It's a
Yeah.
contact sport. And you, for whatever time the game is running for, you basically play your character.
Mm.
So there's no dice or anything like that. If you want to go, I want to hit the orc, you walk up to the orc and hit them, and
Nice.
then hope they
Okay.
don't hit you back lots.
Yeah.
There are different ways of different types of rule sets, different types of genres of it. I
Hmm.
run two LARP systems,
Okay.
so I run a combined sort of fantasy system, which is lots of different worlds that have been joined together in our world.
Oh. Okay.
And so you have your typical your fairy stuff where you have your elves and the dwarves and magic, and
Hmm.
then you have another land which is more like the Salem Inquisition, where the
Oh.
church is in. command and such. There's
Huh.
another one which is more like the sort of samurai, Chinese, Japanese cultures.
Wow.
Um, one that is much more sort of tribal, sort of Amazon rainforest crossed with Northern American tribes.
Wow.
But then the Pirates of the Caribbean world, which is quite fun.
That
All your
sounds like.
pirates and stuff like that. So it's a huge world with lots of different places, so people can be practically anything they want.
Wow.
Um, it's the ultimate escapism.
Sure.
And they come along for the weekend, and as the team that run it, we put in the overall storylines,
Mhm.
and we throw them at the players, and then we see how they react to them, and we react to what they're doing.
Nice.
And you work together effectively to tell a story like you do in Dungeons and Dragons. Just you
Okay.
have to work it out for yourself properly. So it's if there is some magical scroll you've got to decode, you probably have to actually decode it,
Right.
and there will be a physical thing in front of you that you can actually look at and read and work out. If there's a fight, then things will come in swinging swords and axes at you and shooting
Mm.
you with bows, and arrows and stuff.
Wow. That sounds pretty awesome, I've got to say. The immersion in that
Yeah,
must
it's
just be like
a lot
incredible.
a lot of fun. And you've got different types of games as well. So we do that fantasy one, but there's also science fiction ones,
Oh, okay.
and you get them. There's loads in the UK, so modern day ones, various different science fiction,
Hmm.
different game worlds. So there's Firefly LARP, there's Stargate
Wow.
LARPs, there's Harry Potter LARPs out there. There's all if you
Wow.
can. There's all sorts of things. Um, if you just got to look for it and
Wow.
find out what you feel comfortable with. Um, Different games are good for different people.
Hmm.
There's some very linear games which you just go as a little party and you run through a very set dungeon or set
Hmm.
route. There's more bigger fest style events where there's just I think the biggest one is the Gathering
Okay.
in the UK, which has got about a few thousand people there, and they
Wow.
have big battles with each other. Um, there's games with lots of PvP or player versus player, so it's groups and factions of players fighting against each other. Where
Oh.
we run a much smaller story-based game where the idea is the players work together. They don't always,
Hmm.
but the concept is they are a group that work together to solve the problem.
Mm.
And rather than one DM running everything, you have a team with you.
Nice.
So we have a team of about 8 of us on a
Okay.
regular basis. We get
Wow.
extra people in who play all the things that go and fight against our players.
That is so cool. Now I feel like Dungeons and Dragons has had sort of a there's been a surge in its popularity lately. Do you feel have you seen anything like that in the LARPing world? Do you feel that that's blown up at all or grown?
It's Yeah, the LARPing world has been growing steadily over the last few
Oh.
years. It has ups and downs, peaks and troughs of what people are interested in, what they want to get to. But over the last few years, it's gone through a number of sort of big leaps in the quality of kit you can get,
Oh.
and um, what sort of things are available, what sort of genres are available.
Neat.
Bringing technology into it as well as just
Ah.
things like special effects you can start doing, which are a lot easier
Oh.
to
I
do
hadn't
now
thought of
than it was
that.
a few years ago.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
we've got little things. You can have like little candles now, which are obviously we use different sites. So
Mm.
there's no camping events. Sometimes
Ah.
we use like hire out castles,
Wow.
for
Okay.
example.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But some of these buildings are quite old, so you can't have open candle flames because it sets off all the fire alarms.
Oh. Yep.
Um, but you still want that immersion, so you can now get like the little LED candles that flicker, which doesn't sound
Oh.
like a lot, but that lighting effect with the proper modern daylight switched off gives it the feel you're looking for.
Neat.
Um, yeah, as well as other stuff like you can do special effects for your science fiction games where you can have actual computers interacting with people and
Right.
you smoke machines and things like that.
That sounds so amazing. All of that. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Now, have you been LARPing for a while, and what got you into it in the first place, or was there an
Uh,
experience where you first discovered it?
Yeah, it was weird. Again, my mother's helped with so much of this stuff. She's actually really
Neat.
open to all of this weird thing. A friend of hers from work used to do it.
Okay.
I mentioned in passing at work, and she went, "Oh, I know somebody who'd be interested."
Ooh.
and I started then going along to the events with them, and then yeah, it's just went on from there. I've been LARPing since I was what about 20 odd years, just over 20 years.
Wow. Okay. Neat.
Um, Most of the first 10 of that I was actually playing
Okay.
as a character,
Mhm.
and then I swapped over. But basically, my character was too powerful, so I swapped over to join the team that actually ran the games
Okay.
instead, which is like allows my storytelling to
Yeah.
come to the fore, and a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Would you say that there are any aspects of LARPing that people might not realize are there until they get into it? Anything they might be surprised by?
A lot of people think it's very sort of geeky, very sort of select groups of people who type play it, and that's really not the case. When you actually get into it, you find in general people are really welcoming. They want to help you get
Mm,
involved. They'll help you out with
good.
things like kits and stuff when you're going, and you get all walks of life, of all
Okay.
different sort of ages and different sort of, you get doctors, you get teachers, you get people, office workers, you get sort of
Wow.
people who just don't work at all because of whatever reason.
Mm,
Um, it's something that anybody can do.
gotcha.
Um, it's it's got a thing of, you say it and people think only certain people can do that,
Mm.
and when you actually look into it, it's actually no, everyone can do it. We have children come to our events
Ah, that's
who
beautiful.
play along just
That's
as much as everybody else.
great.
Like my niece comes along and my nephews,
Ah.
but my niece is absolutely terrifying because you've got like a 10-year-old girl
Oh.
who wants to scare everybody. So all those horror films you've seen where the little girl comes along and she always wants to be that. So we let her because she wants there to be there to have fun, and everybody
Neat.
else has fun as well, running away from her.
That's
it's
amazing.
so yeah, they all get involved, and that way it's like a big family community game rather than a
Yeah.
bunch of people who are out drinking in the forest, which isn't quite true. You do
Right.
drink
Yeah.
occasionally, of course, but not
Yeah.
always.
Neat. um.
I think also the width of what is available,
Oh.
whatever you're interested in, whatever style you want to play,
Hmm.
you may have to look around for it, but it'll be out there somewhere. You just need to go and look. And
Great.
if anyone's opening your army, go speak to these people, have a word with them, ask about it, see
Mm.
if you can go along and join the crew where you just help out run the games. You don't have to actually pay as much or
Hmm.
have all the kit.
Hmm.
Um, the ultimate escapism is being something else, running around hitting something else in the woods.
Right. Right.
It
Just some
really
of.
gets you away from the office.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. I do like, as you mentioned, a number of the that there's so many different genres and specific, like the Firefly one. I can see people just loving Harry Potter Firefly and just jumping into that because they're of their fandom.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And those they will have their sort of interpretation of most of the fandom, but it means you know the background of the world.
mm,
Um, it can be daunting finding out otherwise, because our
yeah.
system, for example, isn't based on anything like that. It's
Ah.
been running for over 20 years, and things that are in the game world now
Hmm.
are actually based on things that players have done in the last 20 years.
Oh, that
It's
is
a
so
continuing
cool.
story. So yeah, it
Wow.
looks daunting to get involved with that way, which but it means that
Hmm.
these things last. This story actually persists, and you'll have people telling stories from many years ago of
Mm.
things that actually happened in our game world, not just, do you remember that episode of Firefly? We
Yeah.
can remember that in game. You've got
Right.
this actual. No, we did that. I remember when we were up till dawn fighting off the hordes of undead while we were standing on that sand dune. So
Ah, I love that. That's amazing that it grows and becomes its own.
yeah,
Yeah. Ah.
really does.
um, so, do you have any personal projects? Anything that you might have on the horizon? Um,
Well, I am planning on doing some more charity streaming this year.
Neat.
Uh, Not sure how much and how often I can do that. Probably not as much as I would like to. But there'll definitely probably be one or two things we do between now and Extra Life 2017.
Ah.
So we might do some Halloween things, and if I get some time, might do something over the summer as well. And as usual, I'll run the very light rules system. So if you've never
Mhm.
played before, it doesn't matter. We just go. All you need to do is say what your character's going to do and roll a d20,
Neat.
and we all cheer when it's a 20 and laugh if it's a one. And other than that, we'll tell a story, hopefully entertain people and earn some money for good causes.
Excellent. And we're gonna have your info down below. So if anyone sounds like is really interested right now about when that's coming out and if they can join, we'll have Rich's info down by his Twitter and stuff. So you can follow him and stay tuned on that stuff. um, okay, so this next section here is sort of loose, random kind of questions, just to delve into your background, and such a little bit. So first question is, do you have a favorite class or even a specific character that you really love from LARPing? Any of your LARPing sessions?
Um, I've had a few. I tend to play kind of support characters in one form.
Okay.
So your range support, your healers, your rogues. You know,
Mm,
I do like running around and picking locks and solving codes and things.
nice.
Um, yeah, especially when you can actually do it as well. It's really fun. We, we, we get really terrible padlocks that
Okay.
you can pick with a stick, but it looks good when you're actually going in and doing things.
Nice.
Um, my favourite character of all time is actually one that's still going, but is now an NPC, a non-player character.
Oh, okay.
Is actually where I get my online Twitch name from,
Really?
Finnlay Shards.
Oh.
Um, the the game system used to be called Shards. We've
Okay.
now changed the name to Ascendancy
All
as the
right.
game has evolved. But my character was actually called Finlay. So
Ah.
my initial online presence was the combination of my character name and which game system I was playing.
Mhm.
And obviously, when you start, you have back in the 90s and early 2000s, we had loads of different online personas based on what we were doing at the time.
Mhm.
That one's the one that kind of stuck around and has just followed me through, well, everywhere now because that's
That is
Twitch,
great.
Twitter, Facebook, and such. He was an elven druid archer, so he was a bit
Oh.
of a healer, a bit of a magic user,
Okay.
and it was an archer, and he was a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Um, he was a little bit crazy, but
Mhm.
uh,
The world needs
his
it.
party trick was I used to get quite good with the LARP
Oh.
bow. I don't get a chance now anymore because I had a reputation for being good with the bow.
Ah,
So
okay.
now, whenever I turn up with a bow, our players panic and we use all the magic and guns in the world to destroy me before I get a chance to do anything. Um, I did used to be able to shoot arrows out of the sky. That was my party trick.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
the big LARP arrows. They're not like the ones. They've got big foam heads on them. So, one
Okay.
sec. One sec.
Oh,
One sec. Yeah. There you go. Ah,
I
there's a nice
love
bird
that
over
you
here.
had one
So
just off screen. That's
yeah, it's
amazing.
close. So yeah, they're quite big, sort of. They're squishy foam
Oh, yeah. Okay.
arrowheads, so they're quite big, and you do actually shoot these and hit people with them.
Okay. That's cool.
So they're like they are standard arrows, your normal sort of flights and stuff. They're just got
Mm,
these nice soft foam heads that mean you can actually shoot people, and
nice.
so they provide a nice target when they're flying through the air 'cause they go quite slowly.
Oh, be perfect.
Um,
I like the
yeah,
realism.
but
That's
no,
great.
he became somewhat political somehow.
Oh.
My character went crazy, had a good idea, and it worked a lot better than I thought, and became the High King of the land of the Fae, of the elves.
Wow.
So at that point, I retired him from running around the forest shooting goblins in the face. I thought he was a bit more busy now.
Yeah.
So, but
That's really
he
neat.
was my favorite. He was my favorite character.
And I feel like I've learned a secret now. I know where your name has come
Yeah,
from. Everyone
where my
can.
name came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, these get slightly more random. What is the weirdest thing that has happened to you recently?
Other than being asked to do an interview online, uh, uh, I think the weirdest thing that's happened to me recently would probably be going back to LARP 'cause that's all I ever do
Mhm.
these days. Other than the fact that all the other than the charity stream I did last year, which trust me was really really weird.
Oh,
Okay, right,
really?
we'll make sure you got the link so people can watch that
Yes,
madness.
please.
And I I don't know what was happening there. I was just going with the flow and hoping people were enjoying it.
Neat.
Um, but yeah, no, I think having to actually the weirdest thing I've had to deal with was actually an injury last year with
Oh,
somebody who just fell over and actually damaged their leg, sort of dislocated their leg. And one of the
wow.
things I do for the system is I'm also the first aider,
Okay.
the lead first aider. So having to run around and deal with that while still kind of dressed up in kit for LARPing
All right.
is
Yeah.
always an interesting one because you get so many weird looks from
Yeah.
people.
Coming through. Wait.
Yeah, it's like, why is
Emergency.
that person wearing weird stuff?
Right.
Um, the very weird ones being when we've had injuries of characters
Hmm.
or players who have got a lot of makeup or prosthetics on, and
Oh.
they've fallen over and bumped their head. We need to get them to hospital to check for concussion.
Oh,
We don't
right.
have time to worry about removing all their armor and
Hmm.
removing all the paint and stuff. So you take them into hospital,
Oh, that's
and they
amazing.
kind of look at you in horror,
Yeah.
going,
What's
"Well,
happened?
I
Yeah.
don't know what's wrong with him. He's a funny colour." Uh,
Where do we start? Yeah.
yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of some of the weirdest stuff we've had to deal with is when you take yourself outside of those situations into what would be a normal situation, and seeing people have to deal with that.
Oh, I love that. Not the injury part, but the humor of it is
No,
great.
no,
Yeah.
not the injury part, but yeah.
uh, um, and lastly, what is it about Team Hooman that means the most to you?
It has to be just how safe the community is, how kind,
Mm,
welcoming, generous, and protective. There's been so many places on the internet that can be so bitter and vile and
yes.
basically put you off wanting to be a part of them. And I've experienced that in the past. And then I've been around since like following Felicia before Team Human properly started. So I've been there since
Mm.
very early on in the beginning when Ryan was chasing humans around a dungeon in a game they were
Oh,
playing,
that yeah.
and he was calling out for the humans so he could go, "Hey, come here, little humans," and that's where our wonderful community members came up with the name and decided that they built the website and they did a fantastic
Right.
thing that made Team Human a thing, and then we've all just followed on.
Hmm.
And even now, it's been going for a couple of years now. We've got over 2,000 people on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
We're the foundation for a number of the chats for Geek and Sundry, for Hyper RPG. You know, we're
Right.
all everywhere on these, and we just support everywhere.
Mm.
And it's just like a community where people can go, no matter what you are, who you are, how you're feeling. You know, it's like if you need help, it's support. You can just go. You know, the number of people you see is can somebody just cheer me up today, and within minutes, or you'll just see posts going in from
Yeah.
community members supporting others. And that community, I think, is actually inspired so much positivity across the internet in so many places. There's people who have talked about our community.
Mm.
Steph Woodburn
Yep.
is one of our wonderful Geek and Sundry hosts and
Mm.
such. As said, she has talked about the community to people she spoke to in other
Oh,
areas and such. Just going, you know, this is the community. This what is what makes what we do what it is.
yeah.
Because without your community, the Twitch isn't really anything. It's just
Yeah.
it's just another show. But with the community there behind you, and the Team Human is there to support every positive thing that's going.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to be a part of that in any small way to help out people is
Hmm.
just it's a really good feeling, and it's nice to know there is a safe place
Yeah.
for people.
That's wonderful. Go Team Hooman. um, well, that's all the time we have today on Mortal to Mortal. Rich, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything, any thoughts or comments you'd like to leave the viewers with before we head out?
Uh, I say we will be doing some more charity stuff in the year. Team Human will be doing stuff, and just you know, if you haven't investigated Team Human, have a look at the website for that as well. Become part of this community, and we'll do some more good stuff. And everyone should play lots of games and have lots of fun.
Hmm.
Because if we're not having fun, then what's the point of everything else we do?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Beautiful. Take that to heart, viewers.
Mm.
All right. Well, thanks again, and I will catch you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.